Howdy, everyone. My name is Paul Schaefer. I'm a branch manager with Wells Fargo here at our Harvey Mitchell location in Bryan, Texas. I've lost track of how many times I've done this. I know this is our second or third time to do this virtually through Zoom, but I always enjoy teaching the Habitat for Humanity gang about identity theft and fraud and ways to help for you to learn how to protect yourself and make sure that you're secure in that way. All right, so again, what we'll talk about today is how your identity can be compromised, ways to protect your information, and what you can do if you experience identity theft or fraud. Now, I'll be going over, of course, the information that's in the slide, but I will try and not get off on a tangent about stories, things that I've seen, that I've experienced, that I've helped customers with, because some of it can be pretty eye-opening.
Hoy vamos a hablar de qué es el robo de identidad, maneras de protegerse su información y qué puede hacer si usted experiencia eso.
All right, so a definition of them. Identity theft is when somebody steals your identity or personal information for illicit purposes. Identity fraud is when that person uses your stolen identity to commit fraud or illegally deceive someone. They're very similar in what they are, but they are two different laws. And I know a lot of people say, well, I don't have anything on my credit for me to worry about. Those are actually the easiest ones usually for people to be defrauded, because there's always things that people can still use your information for.
Ahora, la diferencia del robo de identidad es cuando alguien roba su identidad para robar su información, y el fraude de identidad es cuando esa persona usa su identidad para cometer fraude o para tratar de cometer con otras personas fraude.
Okay, so signs that it's happened, signs of identity theft or fraud. So watching out for fraudsters. The information that you need to protect, to me, is all of it, but most definitely your social security number, your identification numbers like your driver's license, passport number, state ID number, your ATM, credit cards and debit cards, and also your personal information, your date of birth, address, phone numbers, things like that. Give me 1 second while I'll let my cleaning crew know that I'm here, so they don't call the police.
Ahora, ¿cómo pueden evitar que la persona se robe su información? Lo primero es obviamente proteger toda su información, pero lo más importante es proteger su número de seguro social, su número de licencia de manejo, su número de pasaporte, si tiene tarjetas de crédito, de débito, todo eso, y obviamente su información personal, como su dirección, su número de teléfono, su fecha de nacimiento. Toda esta información es muy importante de tenerla protegida para que alguien no pueda fácilmente usar eso para cometer fraude o robar su identidad.
All right, I'm back. So the different ways that your information is stolen, as it has down here on the slide, emails, phishing and farming, that is very common. You'd be surprised how many people click on those emails. One example is they will get an email that it says it's from a bank, from Wells Fargo, and it says your account's been locked, unlock it, click on this link. What that'll do is it'll pull up a website that looks very similar, and as soon as you start typing in your information, it's being captured. Another way is through the malware, which can come through email as well, which can get on your computer, can get on your phone, your laptop, whatever it is that you're using, and they can see what you're doing, see your passwords, see your emails, and they have full access to all of that because we like email notifications, all of us do, and so everything is there. What we call old school mail theft, people actually do mail things. The majority of the time, the only thing that people mail out nowadays are bills. And so when they see that little red flag up on your mailbox, they just roll through, grab your mail. They've got your checking account information and one of the checks you've written. They've got an example of your signature. You know, if it's a credit card, they now know how much money is available on that thing, all that stuff. Mail coming in, excuse me, is usually junk mail, but also our bills. And so again, it gives them that information of who you're doing business with, who you have accounts with, and your account information. Credit card fraud is again another highly common type, both in them using your information to get a credit card and charge it up, or getting your actual credit card information and using your credit card to make purchases. Data breaches are some of the biggest ways that information is spread, because when you're talking about a data breach, you're talking about thousands and millions of people's information that is just released. You know, our government has had their databases hacked. Visa had their database hacked. And so when you're talking about a place like that, that their data is hacked, there's no telling when or if your information is going to be used. But it definitely takes you being on top of your information to know if it is being used or not. And then probably one of the most complicated for us as bankers to spot is social network fraud. And when we say social network, that is the person that you don't know in real life, or you just met them for a couple of minutes and you become online friends, things develop, relationships develop, and next thing you know, that other person's asking you for money for, you know, some sort of business venture or emergency they're in, or something of that nature, or oh, I'm working out of state. I need somebody to be able to wire this money into their account for them to turn around and forward it to me in this foreign country. And we see people lose thousands and thousands of dollars through social network hacks. You know, a credit card fraud, when they use your credit card, a lot of times when it's something out of pattern, the bank's going to pick up on it and ask you about it. And also, you know, you can see it. Oh, I didn't do that purchase. Let me contact my credit card company and see what's going on with it. But with a social network scam, people are willingly doing this. And when you willingly give up your information and your money, there's no getting it back.
Ahora las
Sorry, I forgot you were
translating.
Translating. I'm sorry, I got off on
No,
that.
you're fine. No. Las diferentes maneras que las personas pueden robar su información, lo más común hoy en día es por correo electrónico. Entonces van y mandan un correo diciendo que es de su banco o algo así, y usted va a esos diferentes sitios y les roban su información. Otro tipo que es un poco más viejo, dice una manera más anticuada, es de robar su correo, entonces su correo de su casa. Otra manera es robar su cuenta de crédito, entonces si ellos pueden agarrar su número de tarjeta, pueden usarla para hacer transacciones, entonces por eso es importante checar sus cuentas para asegurar que no haya ninguna transacción que no hizo usted. Otro tipo es de negocio social, entonces pues hay momentos donde una persona pide dinero por las redes sociales y entonces es así otra manera que puedan agarrar su información. Y Olga, una cosa que no es tan común pero puede pasar es que agarran la data de algún sitio que usted está usando o ponen algún virus en su computadora.
So this is an example of that email that I was telling y'all about. this one in this case is discussing insufficient funds. And there's ways to look at it and see, is that from a legitimate bank or is it from a fraudster? The first thing to notice is when you look at the email address where it's from, it says from Wells Fargo, but then right next to it, it says cpaw@kupu.com. Okay, obviously that's not a Wells Fargo server email. So that's the first thing to look at. And I'll pause there for you to translate.
Ahora, ese es un ejemplo de un correo electrónico que pueden mandar que dice que es de Wells Fargo, pero si ven más cerca, pueden ver algunas cosas que enseña que de veras no es de Wells Fargo y ellos nomás están tratando de robar su información. Entonces, por ejemplo, en la parte de arriba, donde dice número 1, dice de quién es, entonces dice que es de Wells Fargo, pero el correo electrónico es cpaw, que kupu.com. Entonces, obviamente, el correo electrónico es muy raro y no es de alguien de Wells Fargo.
So next thing to notice is they've actually misspelled Wells Fargo, where it says Dear Wells Fargo member. We're, a company, if they have the money to generate an automatically generated email, they're going to have the money to be able to get it to at least put your name in there. And it's going to be spell checked.
Ahora otra cosa, en donde empieza el correo dice querido Wells Fargo member, entonces si está escrito la información de la compañía correctamente, entonces obviamente si es de veras de la compañía, ellos no van a hacer un error tan fácil de hacer.
Also, they'll have typos. You'll notice on this one where it says insufficient to cover one or more your checks, comma, debit card purchases and debit and card are capitalized. Those are things that are going to stand out to you. Having a hyperlink for you to confirm your identity is a big one, because that hyperlink is going to lead you to a fake email, fake website that's going to look like the banks, but it's not the banks. Also, just awkward grammar, and it's going to create a sense of urgency for you to contact us to use that link that we're feeding you to get you to take action.
Ahora, otra información que enseña que no es real es que tiene muchos errores en el correo. Otra cosa, el número 5 dice que tienen que seguir este link para confirmar su identidad, entonces ningún banco va a hacer eso. Entonces, obviamente, esa página que los va a llevar nomás está para robar su información. Y también lo que hacen siempre es tratar de hacer que esto es urgente para que hagan clic a ese link. Entonces, no vayan a seguir esa información porque si no, así es como le roban su identidad.
So ways to keep, this is discussing what we call, or people refer to as snail mail, U.S. Postal Service mail. Have your name and address removed from the phone book. It's simple to do, might take a little bit, but it's simple to do. A lot of people refer to that as being unlisted. Installing a lock on your mailbox. Again, the easiest way for somebody to steal your information is to simply pull it out of your mailbox, because a lot of us are not home from 9 to 5. We've got jobs, and so there's plenty of time that the fraudsters can just simply drive by. They know nobody else is going to be home watching, and they can easily just take it out of the mailbox. Keep the envelopes containing bills you pay with checks in a secure place. Again, this is talking about after you've taken it out of the mailbox. If you throw it in your purse or your backpack or briefcase, make sure that it's secured, that it's not falling out, so that in some random place somebody can find that. And I'll pause there for you.
Ahora, una manera que puede ayudar para asegurar su correo, entonces lo primero que él pide es que quiten su nombre y su dirección del teléfono de direcciones, entonces para que no tengan esa información fácilmente. También otra opción es poner una llave en su caja de correo para que mientras estén en el trabajo no puedan entrar ahí. También es siempre asegurar de tener sus biles y todo toda información importante que le llegue por correo en un lugar seguro, entonces no tenerla a nomás por sin ningún lado. Y también, por favor, destruir de papeles o información que tenga su información, destruir esa información para que no la puedan robar.
Carefully destroy or shred papers you throw out. And then if you're away from home for an extended time, have the post office hold your mail or ask, a neighbor, somebody that you trust to pick it up for you. We hadn't seen that type of theft and fraud happen in quite a long time as far as a common occurrence place. That last year, one of the things that did happen was a gentleman had come in and wanted to withdraw some money from his account. We looked at where the money came from because he had just recently opened the account up online and saw one of the big checks that he deposited was coming from a check that was made out to one of the local well-known businesses around here, and it was their tax return. They had actually stolen that tax return check out of that business owner's mail because they were on vacation at the time. And so they just happened to drive by, saw that mailbox hadn't moved in quite a while, and they went ahead and took the mail out of it, and it had their tax refund check in it. It was a large tax refund. And then that guy came in to try and pull the money out because he deposited through the ATM. So that is an example of how easily it can happen. Had we not looked at where that money was coming from, it would have been really easy for them to take all that money out and hop on down the road with it. But we, take the time to look at where that money's coming from to help all the customers and everybody who has the right to that money, make sure that they have it.
Otra manera es, si usted sabe que va a estar como de vacaciones o no va a estar en casa por un tiempo, puede pedir que la oficina del correo pare de mandar correo por ese tiempo, o si tiene algún familiar, algún amigo que puede recoger su correo por usted, nomás porque si ven que el correo no ha sido checado por mucho tiempo, ellos saben que no está en la casa y pueden ahí ir y buscar con su información y robar su correo.
Keeping your conversations secure. A lot of people don't realize how often we speak loudly when we're talking on our phones. I'm not trying to say anything negative if you do, but you would be surprised at how many, if you just sat there and listened to people as they walk by, or when you're in a mall or a big store, are talking on their phones, and you can hear, sensitive information. There was actually one time that me and my wife were out running errands, and she needed to pay one of our friends something that they have a merchant service that they could take credit cards and debit cards. And she just starts spouting out her debit card number while we're in the middle of the store, and about to slap the phone out of her hand. Stop it. We don't know how many people are sitting there listening, but it can easily happen. Especially if you're giving out your Social Security number, definitely something you don't want to just speak out loud. An unsolicited phone call asking for personal information, those are rampant right now, especially during the COVID-19 virus and the freeze that we had. Everything that's happened over the past year or so, where people are having difficulties getting normal everyday things done, especially when paying their bills. They will answer the phone, and there'll be somebody representing BTU, and they'll say, your bill's due. We're going to cut your power off today if you don't make a payment. And those people give their information over the phone thinking that they're getting it handled, when in reality they just give their information out to a fraudster.
Ahora, otra cosa que muchas personas no piensan que es importante, pero cuando está hablando por el teléfono, mantenga su información, su conversación segura. Entonces no vaya a decir su número de tarjeta, su número social, ninguna información importante que está hablando por teléfono porque no sabe quién está escuchando. También cada información que es sensible, trate de no esconderla de ojos que estén viendo. Entonces, por ejemplo, su PIN cuando está usando su tarjeta de débito o de crédito. Y también si recibe una llamada y alguien está pidiendo esa información porque pretende que es de la compañía de luz y necesitan su información porque no ha pagado su bill, escuche bien la llamada porque puede ser que sea alguien que nomás está tratando de robar su información. Entonces no vaya a dar su información si no está seguro de quién es y que sí están hablando con la compañía correcta. Y siempre escuche bien porque si oye algo en el fondo que enseña que no es de veras esa compañía, eso le puede ayudar.
You can go to the next one. So okay, obviously we can't do a show of hands, so I'll just go ahead and say the answer first. But what the question's asking is card not present, transaction fraud decreased in 2017 due to EMV chip technology, which the CNP card not present are charges done over the phone or online. So true or false? And go ahead and click it. False. The reason being, it actually continues to increase. Reason being, and a perfect example is something that I just spoke about a couple minutes ago, is online. Obviously, online, there's not a card to insert into a chip reader. And so therefore, it's a card not present transaction. So when a card is compromised, those fraudsters will quickly use that card as fast as they can for as much as they can because they know soon that card's going to get shut off, so they want to take advantage of it while they can. So it is important that even though we have these types of technology to protect us in person, the dangers of online are still there. And, you know, Amazon is something that is ingrained in our culture now, being able to order stuff on Amazon, getting delivered the next day. I'm victim of that. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I've actually made an order this morning. It's going to be delivered tomorrow. But there are plenty of ways that they can still steal that information and be used online to get delivered and never have a person's face attached to that crime.
Una cosa que él preguntó es que hace pocos años instalaron el uso del chip en las tarjetas de débito y crédito, y entonces preguntó que si eso ayudó a bajar el crimen de robo de identidad, y dice que la verdad es que no, todavía sigue creciendo, y es porque el uso de usar tarjetas en línea. Entonces, obviamente dice que es muy común usar la tarjeta para ordenar cosas en línea, pero así es como ellos siguen robando esa información, usando estos sitios para agarrar su tarjeta de crédito o débito, y muchas personas no checan eso, entonces tratan de quitar más dinero lo que puedan. Entonces es una manera que siguen robando información.
Yeah, at the bottom it says using online and mobile tools to monitor your accounts, that offline customers take more than, on average, 40 days to detect fraud, and in turn, they incur higher fraud amounts than those who check them online. I've got a story for that later on. It is crazy how much fraud happened, but it was simply because they didn't check their accounts online and how quickly it can happen.
Otro tip que él dice es que usar su cuenta, checar su cuenta en línea o usar su teléfono si tiene una cuenta en su teléfono, una aplicación, perdón, porque muchas personas no detectan ese fraude hasta 40 días y ya después de 40 días tarda más para regresar ese dinero. Entonces usar sus cuentas de banco y checarlas siempre a menudo para asegurar que no vaya a pasar algo así.
So again, using caution on social networks. One of the great things about social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, is that it allows us to connect to people. We are social beings. That's what humans are. We majority of us, I'll say, want to be interacting with other people, and part of that interaction is telling stories and telling people what has happened. However, the fraudsters have the same access to that information that you're sharing online, and it's not hard for them to put two and two together, especially if you have become a target. It's easy for somebody to figure out who your mom is because we connect that person is our mom or that person is our dad or brother or sister. It's very easy for them to go to theirs and figure out what mom's maiden name was. So that's one of the most commonly used ways to verify somebody's identity when somebody does a credit application. Easy ways to find out where you've lived, your date of birth. All your friends post on Facebook, happy birthday on your birthday. Pretty easy thing for them to figure out. So there, and another thing that I've always cautioned my family against doing, cautioned my friends and family, even though it is fun to read, are the social media posts where it's like, what year were you born? Or what year did you graduate high school? What was popular back then? What kind of car did you drive? How many dogs did you have? Did you skip school? Did you eat out? Did you do this? Did you do that? A lot of that information, while it is fun to recall the past, is also giving the answers to verification questions that creditors ask. So we're giving them all that information when we don't necessarily have to. So I'll pause there for you to translate.
Ahora hablando de redes sociales, siempre use precaución cuando están usando eso, porque obviamente sabemos que somos personas sociales, casi todos hoy en día tenemos estas redes sociales, pero tienen que tener en cuenta que es muy fácil usar estas redes para robar su información. Pueden usarla para robar su dirección, su fecha de nacimiento, hasta el apellido de su mamá, porque usualmente para hacer una tarjeta de crédito es una pregunta de seguridad que ellos piden. Entonces, él también está hablando de, hay muchos que ponen información sobre dónde fueron a su high school, a su prepa, ponen información de qué carro manejaban y todo eso. Y aunque él sabe que esa información es muy fácil de poner, muchas personas pueden usar esto para robar, para hacer fraude.
So things that to do is set your privacy settings to control who can see your information. Make your profile private. That way, only people you want to be able to see your information can see it. Monitor what you post on your profile. And this kind of goes over to where it says don't advertise when you won't be home. I can't tell you how many of my friends will post when they're leaving on vacation. Especially pre-COVID, they're taking a selfie at the airport, or they're taking a selfie getting on the cruise, or whatever it is, taking a selfie in the car. They're basically saying to everybody who can see their profile, hey, I'm not home. We don't really think of it then because we're happy, but that is the reality of it. Don't accept friend requests from people you don't know. This is kind of goes back to when we were kids and our parents told us don't talk to strangers. I realize the internet is totally opposite of that now. We're meeting strangers and talking to them all day long online. We are somewhat strangers, and we're talking online right now. But when it comes to your social media, you know, if you don't know who they are, there's a reason they want to get to know you. And it's probably not to be your friend. It's probably to get your information. Using secured Wi-Fi networks. And the last thing, setting your sign-on to use additional ID besides your username and password, if you have the option. So for example, when you log on to someplace and you've already typed in your username and password, and then you want to do a transaction and they ask for the code that is sent by text to you, use that second factor authentication to make sure that your accounts are secure. It might take you one more step than what you want to do, but it's a whole lot easier to do that than to try and go back and clean up what somebody else has already done. So I'll pause there before I go to the don'ts.
Ahora lo que sí dice que pueden hacer es usar controles de privacidad, entonces hacer su cuenta privada para que no quien sea pueda ver su información. También monitoree lo que está poniendo en sus redes sociales, entonces no vaya a estar poniendo que va a estar fuera de la ciudad estos días, porque obviamente pueden usar esa información. No más aceptar amigos que usted conoce, no vaya a aceptar personas que no conoce porque pueden usar, igual tratar de no más ver más de su información o hasta mandarle un mensaje para agarrar más de su información. Tratar de usar Wi-Fi o internet que esté seguro, entonces no usar internet público. Y también si tiene la opción cuando está haciendo transacciones como su cuenta de banco, información privada, tratar de usar lo que es de 2 factores, entonces poner su username y su contraseña. Y también si piden que le mande un mensaje a su teléfono, un PIN a su teléfono, también usar eso. Dice que obviamente es más trabajo, pero es más fácil hacer eso que si alguien roba esa información, tratar de reparar eso.
So things not to do, don't post your address, phone number, other identifying personal information. Don't post anything you wouldn't want publicized in the news. And that's kind of, you know, like we teach kids, don't say something that you wouldn't want somebody to say about you. It's the same thing when it comes to social media. Don't post stuff out there that you don't want everybody to have free access to know about, because it can easily happen. And don't hang on to accounts you aren't using anymore. If for some reason you have multiple, you know, Facebook profiles or Instagram or what have you that you're not using, go ahead and shut those down, because as much as people want to impersonate how you are, if you have an account out there that you're not using anymore and you're not paying attention to, you're just asking them to take over your profile and in turn take over your identity and turn around and they can use that to have access to your family and friends to defraud as well.
Ahora, lo que no va a hacer, no poner su dirección, su número de teléfono o alguna información personal en sus cuentas. También no vaya a publicar algo que ustedes no quieran que sea en las noticias. Entonces, como le decimos a los niños, que no digan nada que no quieran que las personas lo repitan. Y si tiene una cuenta que puede ser que la hizo hace años y ya no la use, no dejarla ahí sola, porque personas pueden fácilmente hackear esa información. Entonces, si tiene una cuenta vieja que ya no use, borrarla para que otra persona no la pueda usar. Y obviamente ya dijimos que no vaya a decir cuando no va a estar en casa, y usar internet que sea seguro.
Malware. So malware can be some pretty bad stuff. It's malicious software that can get installed on your computer if you click on a link. Those links come to you in a phishing email, on an infected web ad, or really anything that they can load onto it and get on your device is how it can get on there. It says at the bottom, 71% of malware is delivered via phishing emails. And the reason why that is for one, they create a fictitious email that has has a call to action for you to click on this link to solve your problem. And we are creatures of habit. If something's going to slow us down and we can just click on something to fix it, we're going to do that. So that's one reason why. But the biggest reason why is to get that malware on your computer, they have to have access to your computer. So majority of us do have a secured Wi-Fi set up or a secured hardline, so they can't go through there. They don't have access to your computer. But when you click on that link on the malware, you are giving the computer the instructions to load it. You're telling it, please load this program on my computer to fix this. And what it does is the opposite. It now gives them access to your computer. My wife fell for the one on the infected web ad many years ago. From then on, she will not click on a link that pops up. She kind of learned the hard way. And I exactly wasn't happy about it because it more or less fried our computer. But, you know, a link will pop up and say, a web ad will pop up and say, you know, your anti-malware program is expired. You need to renew. That's what she thought she was doing. But in reality, she was downloading the malware. So please be careful when it comes to that stuff. Please have some sort of anti-malware system going so that you know that it's up to date and you're not getting hacked.
Otra cosa que puede robarse información es lo que se llama un programa maligno o un virus. Hay muchas, como en el correo, puede ser que ese link tenga ese programa que es un virus. O también a veces en su computadora, si no tienen un programa que protege su computadora con estos virus, puede salir alguna información que dice que su computadora necesita renovar su programa contra viruses. Entonces, y ese link o lo que está instalando es un virus. Entonces, es algo que pasa muy a menudo y lo más que puede hacer es tener en su computadora, no usar internet público y también siempre tener su computadora protegida con un programa que es antivirus.
So ways to protect yourself. Defend yourself online. Shield your computer with firewalls and up-to-date software. What I just mentioned, make sure it stays up to date and that you have a firewall set up. Keep the personal information off social networking sites. Ignore and delete emails urging you to click on a link to verify your account information. Again, you know, the bank will not do that as far as emails are concerned. Now, as far as my bank in particular, we do have text messaging where it'll ask you, did you just make this purchase? And you reply yes or no. And if you click no, it's going to turn around and have one of our operators call you to verify it, you know, to help you with that. But it's not an email. And we're not going to have a link on that email. We're just going to say, hey, thumbs up, we froze your account, you need to contact us. Create tough to crack passwords. And I'm going to include PIN numbers on that as well. The most common PIN number in usage is 1111. And that is probably one of the first ones a fraudster will go to use. And it'll probably, you know, they've got a high chance of it actually working. The next most used is 1234. Please don't use those. If you don't do anything that I'm saying on this on this webcam, on the Zoom meeting, please don't use 1111 or 1234 as your PIN number. You know, the tough to crack passwords, you know, my wife has one that's 11 or 12 digits characters long. It sounds like she's typing a sentence when she's typing in her PIN number. And as far as her passwords are concerned, if she's using the maximum amount, I am guilty of not using a long one, but it is a complicated one. So when you create passwords you know, don't use your mom's maiden name, don't use your mom's name, don't use the street you live on. Any of your personal information that is used to open an account or to get a loan taken care of or something like that, don't use that. It will take a little bit for you to think of one, but it is most definitely worth it. Don't let financial programs or websites auto-save your passwords. Our phones are made for our convenience. They've really catered to how lazy we can be as humans. And the great thing about Google is when you create a username and password on a website, it asks you, do you want to auto-save this? Please don't click yes, because usually the password you use on one website that is to, buy something that's really cheap that you're never going to use again, it's probably going to be the same password that you use for your bank. And it's probably going to be the same password that you use for your email. So don't have it auto-save it, because as soon as somebody cracks your Google password, now they've got access to everything else. Connect your financial accounts only from your own computer or using secure Wi-Fi locations. Don't use a debit card for online shopping, use a credit card. And opt out of receiving unsolicited emails by registering at that website there. Okay.
Ahora, para defenderse contra esto, como ya dijimos, tener un antivirus en su computadora, no poner información personal en sus redes sociales. Si le llega un correo electrónico que dice que tiene que verificar su información siguiendo algún link, no vaya a hacer clic y nomás ignore ese correo electrónico o bórrelo. También con las contraseñas, es muy fácil usar una contraseña que sea simple, pero es mejor tener una contraseña que es más difícil porque no es fácil de robar. También su PIN, dice que no vaya a usar algún PIN que sea muy fácil, porque igual alguien puede fácilmente robar esa información. También pide que si algún sitio le pregunta que si quieren que guarde su contraseña, no vayan a poner sí, porque si alguien hackea su cuenta de Google, entonces ya tiene toda esa información. Si se está conectando a su cuenta financiera, entonces a su banco, siempre use su computadora, su personal, o nomás usando internet que sea seguro. No vaya a usar su tarjeta de débito, para hacer compras en línea. Tratar de usar una tarjeta de crédito. Y también puedes seguir ese link para registrarse para no recibir correos electrónicos no solicitados.
Also, if you want to go back real quick.
Sorry.
Down at the bottom where it says the S and HTTPS web address, if you were to go to wellsfargo.com and log in, it's going to throw that HTTPS at the beginning of the website on the address bar. That S stands for that it's secured and encrypted. That way, it's going to make it that much harder for an online fraudster to be able to hack into that. That is, again, something that is a real risk because it can come from literally anywhere in the world. And that's also something else to look at is when if you were to go to Google first and type in Wells Fargo, instead of going to the address bar and typing in wellsfargo.com, you could easily pull up a website that is not Wells Fargo, that looks like it. The hyperlink says it is, but the actual link, it's not. And it's not going to have that S in the address bar, and that's a giveaway to you that is not a secure website.
Otra cosa que él recomienda es checar cuando vaya a alguna página que en la dirección, entonces en la parte de mero arriba donde dice el número de la página, que empiece con HTTPS, porque la S asegura que su información está segura, porque dice que hay muchas veces que personas primero van a Google y ponen en la página y hacen clic a cualquiera que salga primero y no siempre es la página correcta o segura, entonces siempre checar eso cuando esté en un sitio que puede ser que se vea normal, pero de veras es un virus o es una manera de robar su información.
So general fraud prevention tips, carry only necessary information in your wallet. People notoriously pack their wallet/purse with all kinds of junk, and all that junk is information that if you decide to turn around and throw in the trash can at the gas station as you're filling up with gas, is just asking for somebody to find it. Not because they're going to go dig into the trash, but wind. Wind can easily pick it up out of the trash can, blow it down the street. You don't know where it's going to end up. But it could end up at the wrong person's house. So keeping it reduced of extra things, including your information. Most of us know our address, so there's no reason to have our address or our social security number. Leave your social security card at home and only carry it when you need it to use it. Again, it's easily lost, easily stolen, and that's information that can be detrimental to keeping your information safe. Make photocopies of vital information and store it securely. A small fireproof lockbox in the house or a safe deposit box at a bank, something like that, so that even if it is destroyed, you can turn around and still have access to it. Only provide your social security number or other personal information if absolutely necessary. And you should be able to know when it's absolutely necessary. If you're applying for something, credit or opening an account or something like that, then yes, it's absolutely necessary. But if you are, signing up for some sort of web page, unless you're buying something and having it shipped to you, they don't need your address. Lock all your devices with a password. I know some people hate that. I use the fingerprint scan on mine, and it's actually very accurate. And then, some people have the face recognition. My face is round and covered with a beard, so it doesn't really recognize my face when I try to do that. And I'll pause there for you, Carla.
Ahora vamos a seguir hablando de tips para prevenir el fraude, nomás en su bolsa o en su wallet, nomás tenga información que es necesaria, entonces no vaya a tener toda su información ahí, porque si alguien roba su bolsa, fácilmente puede agarrar su información. También haga copias de cualquier información que es importante y asegurarla en su casa. Entonces, si tiene una caja segura o algo así por el estilo, o hasta en su banco, siempre tener esa información guardada. También nomás proveer su número de seguro social o otra información personal si es necesario. Entonces, por ejemplo, si está aplicando a algo y necesitan su número de seguro social, si es del gobierno, obviamente sí dar esa información, pero si está ordenando algo en línea, obviamente no necesitan su número de seguro social. También todos sus teléfonos, todos tablets, computadoras, siempre tenerlas aseguradas con una contraseña. Ya sé que no todas las personas les gusta tener eso, pero es muy importante para que alguien no pueda agarrar fácilmente. Si roban su teléfono o algo por el estilo, no puedan fácilmente meterse y robar su información.
Shred papers containing personal or financial information. Promptly retrieve your incoming mail from your home's mailbox. It took me a while, but I developed a habit. As soon as I get home, I go check my mailbox before I walk inside the house. Place outgoing mail in the U.S. Postal Service mailbox, not your mailbox, but an actual drop box for the U.S. Postal Service. And the reason being is it's secured. Nobody's going to have access to it except for the U.S. Postal Service. And you're not advertising with that red flag up that you're mailing off the payment. Know your billing and statement cycles. The reason why we say that is so that you're on the lookout for those bills that are coming in. And also, when it comes to statement cycles, knowing when you're going to be able to see the information or the activity on your account. Now, most companies that bill you and will send you a statement will also prefer to send it electronically, either sending you a notification to your email that you've received it. You need to log on to their website to see it. Or if you've got it through an app, a pop-up notification or something like that. But there are great benefits to doing that. And the main reason is your information is not being compromised physically out in the world. Also, a lot of those companies will keep records for you. Here at the bank, we keep 7 years records of your bank account statements online available to you. So you don't have to worry about those stacking up in your home. You don't have to worry about them being lost in the mail. You don't have to worry about somebody stealing them. We keep them secure for you digitally, but they're at your fingertips if you ever do need to use them in a PDF form. And then don't tell or key in over the phone your PIN number or other information to someone calling you claiming to be your bank. Again, the bank's not going to ask you to type in your PIN number to verify who you are because they've already verified who you are because they have your phone number. They don't need to do that. Now, if it's the opposite way, you're calling the bank to get some information, then yes, they're going to ask for your PIN number to verify who you are because you're the one initiating the conversation. But if the bank calls you, they're not going to ask you to verify it because they've already got your number. They've already verified who you are. So, keep that in mind if somebody calls and represents themselves as a bank customer. And if they do ask you that, call back, hang up and call back at the bank's known 1-800 number to make sure that was a legitimate phone call that you just got.
Sorry. Ahora para otros tips es que toda información que tenga su información personal o toda información financiera siempre la deposite en la basura, pero seguramente también si no es importante checar su buzón frecuentemente, entonces cada vez que llegue del trabajo, cheque su buzón para que alguien no pueda entrar y robar esa información. Si está mandando correo, tratar de meterlo en el buzón de la oficina porque es más seguro que dejarlo en su buzón de usted. También siempre saber cuándo va a llegar sus biles. Hoy en día casi todos los lugares ofrecen dar sus biles en línea o por correo. Y es mejor porque no se les olvida y no los vayan a dejar en su buzón. También dice que el banco nunca va a llamarles y pedirles que usted ponga su PIN. Obviamente, si usted está llamando para checar su cuenta, sí van a necesitar eso. Pero si su banco supuestamente les llama para esa información y pide su PIN, cuelgue porque no es normal.
So I touched on this earlier about data security breaches. A little older information, but you can see by the data how crazy it is. There are over 1,200 data breaches compromising 174 million records that happened in 2017, which was a 45% increase over 2016. That trend is not slowing down. It is just happening more and more. So things for you to do, because these are data breaches we can't do anything about, unfortunately. These are data breaches that are companies who have saved our information, the U.S. government that has our information, places that we cannot do anything about them losing it. But things that you can do to be aware is checking your credit report at annualcreditreport.com, placing a credit freeze on your credit file with all three bureaus, and your kids. You'd be surprised how many kids have credit in their name before they're old enough to have a job. Review the FTC's website, and we also have a website at wellsfargo.com to give you tips and information on keeping your information private. On the credit reports at annualcreditreport.com, that is a free service or a free website. There are numerous websites. If you type into Google credit reports, that will pop up that they are going to charge you to have access to your credit reports. If it asks for a debit card or credit card number, that is not the right website. They are advertising identity theft insurance, and they will charge you for it. They will actually charge you to see your bureau. Legally, you are allowed to see each of your credit bureaus once a year. So what we recommend doing is staggering it out over the year so that every 3 months you're able to check one of your bureaus, because if it's a major credit card company or bank, they're going to report to all 3 bureaus and not just one. So that's how we recommend keeping up to date on your credit, so that every 3 months you can see it and see what's going on with it. The credit freeze on your credit file, what that is meaning is you have a notification put on your credit report that instructs lenders to not issue a line of credit or a loan until they have spoken with you. Now, that does slow the process down. Again, we are creatures of habit. We want speed and we want convenience. But putting a freeze on there will definitely save you from suddenly finding out that somebody stole your credit a few months ago, and now you've got to, consult with a lawyer to get it cleaned up, or you got to pay money to get it cleaned up, because it can literally take years to clean up a credit report from fraud or from stolen identity.
Ahora, hablamos esto un poco antes, pero a veces estas personas roban información, la data de compañías grandes. Entonces, lamentablemente no se puede hacer nada de eso, pero para asegurar que no pasó o para asegurar que su información todavía esté segura, hay diferentes maneras de checar. Lo primero es, cada año usted tiene el derecho de checar su reporte de crédito gratis de los 3 compañías buros que reportan crédito. Entonces él recomienda, como son 3 diferentes compañías, tratarlas de separar. Entonces cada 3 meses checar una compañía diferente para tener en cuenta su reporte de crédito y asegurar que no vaya a haber algo que no sea que usted hizo. También alguna otra cosa que puede checar estos 2 sitios que están ahí abajo, porque ayudan a prevenir el fraude. Y si tienen algunas preguntas sobre cómo prevenir o si le llegó alguna información que su información fue robada, ahí es donde puede checar para ver qué hacer o cómo checar si fue robada su información.
Oh, I got ahead of myself. So there you see what I just spouted out about. I would add the report and resolve errors quickly. The quicker that you see it on your credit report and the quicker you contact that business, the quicker it gets resolved. When you're in the position to buying a house, that credit report is the thing that you want to protect the most, to be able to make sure that it goes through. And the last thing you want to do is have the awesome feeling of being able to buy your house or get a house to be delayed because of what somebody else has done and you weren't aware of it.
Él ya había mencionado esto, pero como dijo, cheque de los diferentes buros cada 3 meses, porque igual usted tiene el derecho de checar esta información gratis una vez al año. Y si ve algún error, hacer un reporte lo más rápido posible, porque no quieren llegar y que haya un error y que no lo vayan a arreglar y poder afectar en el futuro.
So what to do if it happens to you? Close the accounts that you know or believe are tampered with. So immediately call those creditors or that bank and let them know, hey, it's been compromised. Let's shut this thing down. Let's get it stopped. They're going to want to know because there are laws that protect you, and there's agreements that you enter in with them that will say, okay, within this time frame, you will not, if you notify us within this time frame, then we'll return that money to you. But if you wait too long, you're going to be stuck with that bill. Contact the credit bureaus and place an alert on the credit report and let them know that it's inaccurate. The unknown credit requests, pay attention to those as well, because if it's not you that applied for credit somewhere, whether it's approved or denied, if it was denied, that means somebody's got it, and there is still action you need to take. File a complaint with the FTC and file a police report with the local police.
Ahora, si su información es robada, ¿qué es lo que tiene que hacer? Lo primero es cerrar todas las cuentas que piensa que fueron afectadas por este fraude. También tiene que contactar los diferentes buros de crédito para poner una alerta en su crédito para que ellos puedan checar si hay alguna cosa, un error. También tiene que hacer una queja con ese número o pueden hacerlo en línea. Y lo último que tienen que hacer es hacer un reporte con la policía. Con toda esta información pueden hacer el reporte a la policía.
Okay. Again, those organizations to notify: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Those are the 3 credit bureaus. For passport fraud, there's a website to go to. Mail fraud would be our local U.S. Postal Service. Social Security has their own hotline, and so does the IRS has their own hotline. Now, tax fraud, and some people are like, well, it's taxes, whatever. Not concerned about that. That tax fraud could go from something like they've already claimed your income tax refund check. They've already got your refund check, and that money that you are rightfully due back, they have. The government very quickly is going to say, we've already paid you. Too bad, so sad. It's not our fault you can't keep up with it. So you're definitely going to want to let the tax, the IRS know, hey, my identity has been stolen, so that they can check their records and see if anybody has used your Social Security number as a way to get a tax refund or something like that. The stimulus checks that have been issued over the past year, we're coming up on the 3rd one that's going to be issued to us shortly. I've seen people who did not get their stimulus funds because somebody else had used their Social Security number in the past, filing it the taxes, and had that check go into somebody else's bank account. So these are very real things that can happen, that not letting the correct authorities know can still have an effect on you in the future.
Otras organizaciones que tienen que notificar si su información fue robada, los números de arriba son las 3 diferentes buros de crédito que estábamos hablando. Si robaron su pasaporte, tienen que ir a ese sitio de web. Si robaron su correo, tienen que ir a su oficina de servicio postal. Si robaron su seguro social, ahí está el número. Y el último es para sus seguro, sus taxas. Entonces, dice que muchas personas puede ser que no contacten a ellos porque piensan que nomás es el seguro, no van a hacer nada, pero muchas veces pueden usar su seguro social para recibir su cheque como los que hemos recibido este año del gobierno, o su deducible que ahorita están haciendo sus ingresos. Entonces, tratar también llamarles a ellos para asegurar que nadie no vaya a usar su información para recibir su dinero del gobierno.
So other ways to reduce the impact of identity theft: credit bureau monitoring. Now you can pay for that service where if something pops up on your credit, they're going to notify you immediately. Some people don't think it's worth it. Some people do. It's really your opinion. Unfortunately, credit theft is a common thing. It's just as common, if not more, than automobile accidents, and we all pay auto insurance. So it's just something for you to consider. Fraud alerts on your credit bureaus again, credit freezes, and public data scanning. You can scan public records and internet websites for your personal or financial information, which would be a way to detect potential identity theft. While you might not have access to the dark web, where IDs and information is stolen and sold in bulk, still doing a public record or internet site scan for your information can help you detect if it's been out there or is out there.
Otras maneras de reducir el impacto del fraude o de robo de identidad. Hay servicios que monitorean su crédito, entonces es un servicio que si quieren, están interesados, pueden checar su crédito para usted y ellos son los que checan si monitorean si hay alguna información que no sea correcta. También ponga alertas de fraude de sus reportes de crédito, de una tarjeta de crédito, tratar de tener eso para prevenir el robo de identidad. También si parece que robaron su información de tarjeta de crédito, instantáneamente cancelar esa tarjeta o ponerla en hielo para que no la puedan usar más. Y también hay algunas páginas que son públicas que pueden checar que en el internet no vaya a estar su información libre. Entonces pueden usar estas páginas para checar que su información no esté lista para el público.
Again, a couple of reference websites that we have. Identity Theft Repair Kit, if it's already happened to you, it's a PDF that you can print out or save on your computer, and it'll list the different things that you need to do, places you need to contact, and also this privacy security fraud, lets you know how to report different things, who to contact for things like secure Wi-Fi, ideas for stronger passwords, the other checklist of things to do on a daily basis to keep yourself safe.
Otros recursos en la página de Wells Fargo tienen estos recursos. La primera es un PDF que básicamente habla de la información que acabamos de dar. Entonces, si usted es que alguien le robó su identidad o hicieron fraude, le da tips de lo que tiene que hacer. También tienen otro que le pueden ayudar a organizarse. Entonces, si quiere reparar su crédito, puede usar esta página para darle también tips y una lista que usted puede ver para asegurar que está haciendo lo correcto.
So this is the endeavor. We don't have a evaluation form to fill out, but thank you for listening to me talk to you about identity theft and fraud prevention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them while we're online, or feel free to reach out to Carla. Carla has my contact information, and I'd be glad to correspond with you. If you have any questions, you can send me an email, call me at the branch. I'd be glad to go over those questions that you might have. So thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Nobody has any questions? Okay, well, thank you, Paul, so much for sharing your knowledge today.
Yes, ma'am. My pleasure. Y'all have a good one.
Have a good evening, everyone.